You don't have to
sober.
do. You don't have to
Okay.
do that. Well, you can give your sobriety date and all that if you want to, but
Okay.
we're live now, so I'll just give it a few and wait until I hear that we're live on GBR. I don't want nobody to miss anything. And yeah, I mean, chit chatting for a second before we start. Growing up in Lincoln, I mean, I never met you. We're close to the same age. How old are you, by the way?
50.
Well, see, I'm 48. Small town. I had a very small circle back in the day, so never partied with you. I don't think I ever met you in this small ass town, but here we are.
Yeah, I took off 16, 17, and then come back for a minute and then bounce out. Yeah. So.
One last question before we start on that. When's the last time you've been back to town, or would you even want to come back here?
I was just down there a few weeks ago. I see my mom and my best friend lives out Chesterville area. So I go down there and I hit Pulaski and get food at there's a little pub over there. I think it's what's a Brickyard it is called. I don't remember, but yeah, they got a pretty good horseshoe.
Oh yeah.
So when I'm in the area, I get down there about once a quarter.
Okay. Well, everybody, welcome GBR family YouTube subscribers. It's on the spot time. I am Trav. I'm with Bob Skelton tonight. This is kind of special for me. I've done a lot of on the spots over this last year, maybe close to 100, and I've only done maybe a handful of people from my hometown. Would love to have a bigger impact on my hometown, and Bob is a Lincolnite. He doesn't live in Lincoln anymore, by the Chicago area, but does get back to town once in a while. He's got a story just like everybody else. Past addiction and trauma and everything else that everybody else has gone through and possibly still getting through. And he's going to share his testimony with us tonight and take us through it and to where he's at today and where he's hoping to be in the future. So yeah, I'm here with Bob Skelton. I'm going to pray us in right quick, Bob, if you don't mind, and I'll hit you with the first question, brother, and you just take it from there. Father God, I appreciate this time, Lord, that you allow me to have to sit with my brother, Bob, and to hear his testimony. Lord, you know exactly where he was, everything that happened, that he went through, and everything that you pulled him through, and where you're leading him to, Lord. And I just ask a hedge of protection on his life, Lord, and just blessings to keep coming his way. Be with all of his friends and family that he's close to. Watch over his work and protect him on the road as he travels, Lord. And I just ask that you be with everybody that's going to be watching this today, that's in the comments, and be with their friends and family, Lord. Just keep making a way when we get in our own way and see that there is none. And I say this prayer in your beautiful, mighty, powerful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, Bob. Yeah, speaking of hometown, good old Lincoln and the dead center of Illinois. Just take us through growing up in Lincoln, siblings, mom and dad, how life was, what you did for fun. And then we'll see if that leads into the second question. But again, thanks for doing this for us.
Yes, sir. All right. Anyway, I'll introduce myself as Bob Skelton. I was I raised in Lincoln. I've been sober now about a month shy of 4 years from the destruction of alcohol and cocaine. I was born in 75 over there, and I think we lived on Adams Street over by Woodlawn. Is where the first place we lived at. Anyway, being a Skelton in Lincoln, there's a kind of a stigma associated with the name. If you go back to when my dad was pretty crazy, he actually stabbed a cop in Lincoln and got away with it. I had the same name as my dad, so you can imagine kind of the shit I went through with the police. But anyway, I mean, my family didn't do a real good job of making a reputation of being, good anyway. So there was that challenge of, of that as a young individual. And then You know, we did live on Madison Street. You know, when Podunk was Podunk. If anybody knows what Podunk was in Lincoln, Illinois, I was a true Podunker in my teens. You know, late, 12, 13, 14. I was Podunk, like born, raised, and bred, raised, and born, whatever. And so, I didn't really have good role models showing me doing the right things in life. So, there's that saying, it takes a village. I didn't have a village. Shit, I didn't even have parents raising me. So, yeah, I get into a little bit, had this real bad problem growing up. I had this problem. I don't want to say what it is, but had people make fun of me a lot when I was little bitty, from the time I was real little. Yeah, fuck it, man. It doesn't matter. I shit my pants when I was little, right? Like little, like older than you probably should have. But, anyway, everybody made fun of me. My mom, my dad, my cousins, my fucking aunts, uncles, grandparents, fucking everybody. They called me Shitty Pants, whatever the fucking name was. Shitty Bobby, whatever the fucking thing was, right? Anyway, that's some of the traumas that I had associated with. And so at fucking 8 years old, man, I was stealing beer from neighbors' garages that had refrigerators in Middletown, Illinois, where I was at this point. And which is a little town that's 13, 14 miles from Lincoln. I was drinking to escape reality at like 7, 8 years old. I just because I had so much shame because of this problem I had, and so all this is going on. I'm fucking straight A's in school, doing all the things I should be doing, but I'm running and drinking to escape this trauma I feel from being shamed. So this happens until I'm 11, and then when I'm 11, our house burns down. My dad dies. I get burned up. My mom gets all fucked up. And, I thought God was punishing me for shitting my pants. So it never happened again after that. But I was already gone as an alcoholic. I done felt that sense of relief that alcohol gave me. So that big fucking trauma, losing my dad and being burned up and, all this other shit that happened at that time, I really dove into alcohol and whatever fucking drug you'd feed me, because I wanted to kill myself. I think it just didn't have the balls to do it. And, I blamed God. I blamed myself. I blamed God. An electrical cord shorted and burnt our trailer up, and it burnt down in 20 minutes. It took. And the temperature was some 900, 1,000 degrees. Anyway, my dad had a closed casket. So the last time I seen him, I was in the tub. Him and my mom had gone to the bar that night and was like, I'll see you in the morning. Love you. This last time, and I had idolized him. And he was a fucking narcissist, but we'll get into a little bit of that later. So yeah, 11 years old, my house burned down, my dad died. I decided that trauma was what is going to define me. Who is Bobby Skelton? Well, I'm not Bobby Skelton anymore because the fire killed my dad, Bob Skelton. So I'm the man. I'm Bob now. So I go by Bob. He called me Shitty Pants after that day, and we was fighting. And it was you were either going to kick my ass or it was going to go the other way. And I fought a lot because people thought they could still disrespect me. And like I said, after that day, it was time for me to become a man.
You weren't having it no more.
No, I wasn't. And
that changed you in a lot of ways. Then, I mean, you see something that's that frightful and sad and scary and confusing. You thought you might have had a part in the fire itself starting. So that changed your whole mindset moving forward. You heard those two words out of somebody's mouth. It was on.
Well, yeah. And then, I got very mean, and I would fight anybody at the drop of a dime. I got my ass kicked a lot, and when I got older, it stopped. Because then I got my shit kicked in enough that I finally figured out that, okay, this is what's going to happen. Let's counter that and kick back. But anyway, I was very, I grew up in Lincoln. I fought a lot. I let that trauma define me. And, I let people make fun of me still. I didn't let them anymore, so I got really mean and, running around with that podunk crowd. People really we didn't have any parents guiding us. We didn't have any adults guiding us. And the adults that were guiding us were individuals doing life on the installment plan in prison. You have this guy out showing you the ropes for 6 months, and then the next guy would get out for 6 months, and the next guy, and it's just kind of the rotation of how it was. My mom, she was an enabler, codependent. And by the time I was 15, I had convinced her that having kegs at the house was cool for me.
It was the location too, probably.
Oh yeah, we used to have some kick-ass parties, man.
Okay.
But I didn't have a chance in Lincoln. I tried to go to work. My first job, I went to McDonald's. I was 14 and got in trouble because I lied on my application because I was 14. So I didn't work there. So the carnival would come around every year. So I would work for the carnival for the summer, and that's how I'd work for the carnival. I'd walk beans, detassel corn, and that's how I'd buy my school clothes and shoes to try to look halfway cool. Because my parents didn't buy anything. My mom at that point, she was dealing drugs, other things were going on, alcoholism, codependency, so that's all fucked up too. But eventually I got lazy and seen everybody around me dealing drugs, so that was the way to make money. So I was just doing that and partying and so yeah, I did a lot of stuff until I was through my teens. I did acid and coke, and I never shot any dope. I snorted a bunch of shit and tried just about everything once. I was 19. I think I was 19, and I was hammered. I don't know if I did it or not, but I committed a burglary. I did it. Fuck it, and robbed a restaurant for some food. I was hungry. Sleeping outside, whatever the case is, whatever. I committed the crime. I went to jail for however long. I think I did 2 years, 2.5 years on a 5-year sentence. And
what was the restaurant? You mind saying?
I think it was called Momo's Cafe. Is on a square down there in Lincoln next to Madigan's or Flounders. I think it was at that time.
Sure.
Was the name of the establishment. I can't remember the name of it now. It's been a minute since I've been down there. Across the street from the tracks used to be Eckert's Apartments.
Everybody from Lincoln knows right where it is.
Okay. What was where was I going with that?
You had to get something to eat, so.
Oh yeah, the restaurant. So anyway, this is kind of ironic, dude. Right? It happens, and one of the family members I'm hanging out with at this time has since tried to set up his own son for doing something he did. So I don't know, man. There's some doubt in my mind because I've never really been a thief, man. Never. I've never really ever stolen anything. So there's real doubt in my mind. And one time before that, this same cousin tried to put me in the driver's seat and get me pinned for a DUI that he had caused. So, but there's no proof. So, whatever. I'm guilty. So anyway, I went to prison and I did my time and I got out. And I said, that's never going to happen again. And, I'd worked for the carnival before and that's what I started doing. So I left and started traveling with the carnival, and my addictions just got worse because I was traveling. I didn't have to pay rent, because they gave us free place to stay, and so I got pretty good at being an alcoholic. I played pool, gambled on the pool table to pay my way for drinking, and then whatever little money I made, I spent on weed and coke and mushrooms and whatever was fun. And
You said that you were dealing for a little while though, right? Is that
oh
okay?
yeah,
How long? But and also, did that kind of change things a little bit? Because you were using, but you also had it, so that had to change the lifestyle up a little bit. I'm sure. I'm sure a few extra friends, came around, and so how that changed the dynamic of how life was.
growing up in the podunk mentality, it was always groups of people around, so it was just like whoever had it at the moment. Because always somebody in that group had something rolling, either by dealing or so we were all kind of, when this guy had it until he got busted, we were all kind of hanging on to his nutsack. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of something. I mean, me and this one guy got really good at it, and we got really hot, and that's when I left for good. Because I'd been bouncing back and forth into town, working with the carnival and stuff through my teens before I went to prison, and then a little bit after. And this dude just couldn't stop smoking it. So he couldn't stop dealing it. And there was a situation we had where I just stepped away a few months before the situation. I was out on the road with the carnival again. And we had a guy that was running up here to Chicago to pick it up and bringing it back for us, a mule, And this guy got caught, and he calls, oh boy, and he's like, yeah, I got caught. And it was like, or not caught, but my car broke down. And it was like a day after he was supposedly to be back. And this other guy went up there and got busted. And it was like, it was that close, but I knew it was time for me to run away. And that was, that was the last time I dealt. Because I knew that the next time I sold something to somebody that was illegal, I was going to get caught. I didn't know that, but if I don't sell something illegal to somebody, and I don't have to worry about getting caught.
True.
But yeah, it was a bad situation. Lincoln was a bad town for me because the only source of revenue I had was dealing drugs or stealing or anything else. Because going back to like the jobs, I did work at Long John Silver's, but I could never get a job at like the prisons or bottle factory, because that was a big job in town. There was certain things that just
Limited.
Because of who I was. No, it's who I was.
Yeah.
It's almost like yeah, it's just fucked up. That village definitely didn't want to help raise this child. So yeah, I
Well, once you moved out of Lincoln for good, or like you said you ran and stopped dealing, didn't stop using, but I mean, where'd you set up shop next then?
So I met my wife now. Me and her's been married for 21 years. We've been together since 1999. So summer of 1999, I'm traveling with the carnival. And we go to this little town, and I meet my wife, and it's supposed to be a one night stand, and it wasn't. Anyway, that was Labor Day of '99. So it's been 25 years. No, 26 years we've been together. This last weekend that just passed.
Wow! Happy anniversary-ish then, as of yesterday.
So anyway, we met, and during the winter, I used to go back to Lincoln and fuck around, but this winter was different because I met Carrie she was going to college in Macomb at Western, and me and Jeremy, this dude, we'd always pool our money together at the end of the winter and at the end of the summer and rent a place for the winter and play video games all winter until the carnival would start back up the next year. We wouldn't have to work. We'd just chill and play video games and pay all our bills and, bounce. So we were going to do that in Macomb because we didn't have a car. Macomb had a free bus. So, and this girl was there that is my wife now. And so anyway, we moved there, and spring of 2000, I started going to college at Western. And I decided that I didn't want to work for the carnival no more. And this girl was kind of cute. And I thought I was going to hang out with her for a little while. So,
Still
I
using
really,
it? Still
what's
using
that?
it? Was
Oh
you still
yeah, I was
using
drinking
it?
a case of beer a day.
Coke
And
too?
not really much Coke in college. And every now and then I do it on the weekend,
Okay.
just drinking pretty heavily all through college. Got out of college. I moved to Chicago, and I got a DUI in Lincoln in '97, I think it was. I was driving drunk downtown down there at bar to bar, and then whatever, got through that, and then it was 2011. I got my second DUI up here from drinking, and so like the cocaine wasn't a problem, so I'd go like 6-8 months, and I'd do an 8-ball quarter ounce. Go a year, 2 years, do an 8-ball quarter ounce. And this happened for, let's see, however long, until 2020-ish. There was one time in like 2008 where I had a good bender, and my wife actually called Dr. Phil. You know what I'm talking about on the TV?
I've heard of this vaguely, but I
Yeah, I
haven't
was on a
searched for the
Dr. Phil
episode.
show. Yeah, you can't find it online. It's impossible. I don't know
You got,
why. I don't have it. I
you have
don't
no
have it.
access to it?
Nope. But
So,
anyway, I went on Dr. Phil and for explosive anger because I was an asshole.
was you an asshole to Dr. Phil? Because he could ask some
He's a big
antagonizing
fucking
questions.
boy, man. He's a big boy.
You need to shoot me straight, Bob. That's why you're on here.
He's a big guy. But anyway, he sent me to Texas to a brain center to have my brain all checked out, and they set me up with all kinds of shit. And I've seen some pretty good people through that experience. And but I mean, it didn't stop anything. I was still 100% addicted to alcohol. I was working overnights at an IHOP restaurant, and the cocaine just kind of helped me get through the overnights, but it was a problem. And then in 2011, got my DUI. I stayed sober for 2 years after that. I didn't smoke any weed. I didn't use any alcohol, didn't do any drugs. Went to AA because I had to get my license back. And then had to go to one of those hearings for the DUI, to get my shit reinstated. And I got so involved in AA, and I knew the literature, and I knew how to speak AA so well, I went to my first hearing and got my license back without a lawyer. But I was living it. I was living AA. They said fake it till you make it. Yeah. I faked it for 2 years, and you know what I did when I got my DUI license back? Got drunk.
Yeah.
Yep. And I called my wife to come pick me up and pissed all over myself. Got so fucking drunk because I hadn't drank in so long and thought that I could just pick up where I left off.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. That was smart.
Too bad you couldn't have faked that drunk.
Right. So anyway, after that, it took me until 2021, October 11th, 2021 is my sobriety date. The month before that, I got kicked out of my home for drinking. I went and rented an apartment, and I spent $10,000 in cocaine in 25 days. I was buying quarter ounce a day, shoving it up my nose. I didn't smoke it. I was just snorting it. Went to rehab because I couldn't stop drinking. I couldn't stop putting the shit in my nose. I had to detox, and I couldn't detox on my own. I didn't have the willpower. So I went to rehab, and I got through it, and I learned some skills. And, when I got out, I was 100% not going to do anything. And then started having some pain issues and some other things. So I talked to my doctor about medical marijuana and got my medical card, and I've been using cannabis to help with pain relief. And, being cannabis friendly is kind of hard in the traditional recovery models to find any fellowship, but there is a little bit, and but to me, it's not about it's just like if you're a diabetic and you need insulin to be right. I'm not trying to take an opiate and not feel anything with I'm more like holistic. I want to use natural medicines for anything. I mean, I don't even want to eat beef that's at the grocery store because they don't know what's in it, and part of my recovery, I mean, early in 2022 in April, it was, I tested for my first degree black belt in Taekwondo. I'd been studying for almost 10 years at that point as an alcoholic and really hadn't made any progress. And when I got sober, I talked to the master of the dojang, and I said, I really want to get this black belt. And I focused on that black belt to get through the really, really hard cravings, the urges. Looking at my wife and my daughter, the Taekwondo master, the people that were really positive influences throughout my drinking life, I didn't want to disappoint them. And my Taekwondo master was like, "Yeah, you're getting your black belt in April." I'm not ready, sir. You're getting your black belt in April. And I trained and I trained and I trained and I trained. I got my black belt in April. I'm going to get my second degree hopefully this next April. I'm just about ready for that, but I had some heart issues and some other things that slowed me down. But the universe is telling me to slow down, so that's what I'm hearing. Since then I've started doing shadow work and identifying the traumas that I drank to escape. A big part of my recovery was missing spirituality, and that's something I've been working on the last year pretty hardcore, trying to find what is greater than me. Is there something greater than me? Which of course there is. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But that there was a long time where I thought with my ego and let my ego make every decision that I thought I was the greater. And I've had to put my ego in the back seat because I need my ego because it's who I am. But I don't need to listen to my ego make every choice and every decision. Let myself, let my present self do that. Let take it in, evaluate the information before you decide how you're going to react. And with the Taekwondo, one other thing I started doing was I started growing stuff inside and taking care of plants inside and nurturing the plants and giving them certain nutrients at certain times and making it healthy. Sometimes you see the leaves are drooping and yellowing, and it's like, ooh, I need to give it some nitrogen or some phosphorus. And then the leaves come back and they're nice and green, and they're almost like praying up towards the light. And it's like duh, I got to take care of myself this way. Little changes, little tweaks here and there instead of trying to do everything overboard, man. I need this at certain times, and there's going to be other times that I need this, and I was always looking for that balance of spirit, body, and mind, right?
Sure.
33.3 to, perfect balance. And, since I've learned to live in kind of today, I realize that today there might be a 70-20-10. Tomorrow it might be different, but it's just how I choose to, it's how I choose to react is what makes reality.
Sure.
If I get all worked up over a situation, it's going to make it a situation that gets me worked up, and nobody's going to be happy. It's like I got to sit down and think about those things because with who I am, from what I've come from, I think I started my own business, did well in my own business. I did, there's a lot of things. I have a beautiful home, beautiful family. I created this stuff while I was drinking. And that's one of the things is when I didn't drink anymore is I didn't enjoy my business because I created my business to fuel my addiction.
So it was
To
tied
make
into
my
it.
Yeah, because I made enough money to have my family pay for my house and pay for my addiction. I didn't have to I didn't have to hustle, even though I was hustling because just a legal hustle. Um, but then when I got sober and I started doing it, I realized I hated every part of it.
Wow.
And so I had to walk away, and it's put me in a financial pinch now. But if I'd have been drinking, I would have been overboard. Like I'd have been freaking out, and it's instead of freaking out, I'm looking for ways to generate revenue on the side. I'm picking up jobs. I'm doing things. So
Well,
it,
you,
it
you would have
you
crashed it.
know,
I mean, with the drinking and stuff, and I know that's how the business got its jump start, but that's still ego based. With the drinking and all that stuff. So it was just like you still need a healthy ego, but it just has to be balanced a little bit better. And if you're just operating from having the alcohol kind of be almost a first and foremost type of deal to be creative, to maintain and sustain anything. I mean, that would have ruined you.
well,
Um,
I was drinking and driving. Like I was starting to drink at like noon in my
uh,
truck. I would buy a beer at the gas station I was working at. I would leave with two 24-ounce cans, and there was some days I was having 8 cans and driving. I'd get home and I would look at my truck and be like, the next morning, and just to make sure it wasn't wrecked. And it was scary shit. It was
now,
fucking.
at any, I mean, a lot of luck there, or
Oh, there's so much
something
luck.
bigger
You
than
don't
you
even
looking
know.
out for you. At
Yep.
any point when you were doing that, having to, start to drink at noon and driving, was there any moments of like you thinking to yourself, like, this is not normal? Like, this is not sustainable.
I was running from trauma. At
Yeah.
that point in my life, I had not even tried to identify that there was even trauma going on in my life because I had had a perfect childhood up until my dad died. And
Yeah.
then that changed everything. But after I got into rehab and started learning about shit, it's like, oh wow, there's this stuff that's called EMDR therapy, which is kind of like a hypnosis, and it pulls shit out of your brain. It's a newer therapy. I think it's only maybe
Heard of it.
whatever it is, but I went through that, and then I did some other type of therapies that aren't um, they're not like CBT or DBT therapy. It's like holistic therapies,
Mhm.
using different medications to enhance reality and stuff. So,
And you stand by these therapies did truly help you.
well, if it wasn't for one therapy, for sure, I would have never accepted that there was something other wrong with me to look into it because I had convinced myself that everything was perfect. And that couldn't have been wrong. And then I had some psycho assisted ketamine therapy where a counselor walks you through and asks you questions and does some things when you take a very, very low dose. and it opened up shit that I'd locked in my mind, traumas that had happened. Like I, you know how much shame I felt for the death of my father because I thought it was because I shit my pants. That's unfucking believable how much relief I felt after I was able to say, hey, this fucked me up. And
Sure.
there's anybody it would have fucked up, right? This is something that,
100%.
and from what I've learned about trauma is that everybody has it, but it's what you do immediately after the trauma. If you talk about it, you work it out. Because if you hold it in, then that's when you have to run to drugs and alcohol, or your cancers in your body because you're holding that shit in, and trauma is going to run and become alarm in your body. Next thing you know, oh, my shoulder hurts all the time, man. Why does my shoulder always hurt?
Sure.
Because you're holding on to that negativity, that poison. You got to get it out of your system.
I mean, there's things that are so impactful and traumatic at the time. Pieces of us at that age get kind of stuck there. Like mentally, we get stunted. And I think the first thing that we do, like go to drinking, writing, cutting, I don't know, just anything that we try to do to like to distract us from that trauma, it gets progressively worse over the years. Then drinking was definitely tied into that because that definitely increased and increased and increased. And even though life's going pretty good, you're maintaining things like this, starting a business and all that, that trauma from that event, was having you drink beers at noon driving. And that I'm glad that worked for you. Did you only do that like once? I mean, I would imagine it had to be a couple times in a really controlled.
We don't even want to talk about it.
What's that?
I said it happened for a long time every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not the only one that does it. I know. You know what I mean? It scares the shit out of me, man. When I'm on the road now, I'm like, how many motherfuckers are out there like I was?
A
lot. Yeah. There's a lot of guilt behind that. And that's, I'm hoping I can do the next right thing every time so I can get some of those karma points back.
Sure.
Because I put lives.
What do you think? I don't know if this is a decent question, but being who you are now, how you are, and everything that you've gotten through, what do you think you would say to your 11-year-old self back then? Because I mean, you couldn't have known what the hell you needed back then at 11 years old. There was nobody around anyway. But
no, probably the best thing that ever could have happened to you, because this has taught you everything that you know right now. And if you wouldn't have gone through that, you would have never learned. And yeah, because if my dad would have stayed alive with the narcissistic ways he was raised, and his narcissistic abuse that he put me and my mother through, it would have just been, I would have been worse. I would have been in and out of prisons until I died. Until I got the life sentence. I know it. I know it. I mean, when we was like 7, 8, 6, 7, 8, we got accused. It didn't happen. We got accused of breaking into the grocery store in Middletown. Me and another stud over there in Middletown about our age. My dad beat the shit out of me like I was an adult. And my dad was a badass. You ask anybody's like our dads about my dad. Ask your dad or any of your uncles that were my dad's age about him. His same name, Robert E. Skelton. E. Lee. He was named after fucking Robert E. Lee, the fucking Confederate general, if that tells you anything about my family.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, it was a fucking blessing. I look at it now, and everything's everything we're learning in this life is just preparing us for the next plane. be it if we come back into this life or if we go into heaven or whatever it is we believe is the next phase of our spiritual journey, you know, because, you know, it's from what I'm understanding, this is the hardest part, being in this plane, being human, being right now, you know, this is the hardest part of getting ready for the spiritual journey.
Do you think this might not be a fair question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because you kind of alluded to it. Do you think that if that fire didn't happen and your dad didn't pass away and he might have lived another 10, 20, 30 years, do you think life would have gotten worse around the house and for you?
I don't know how it could have got worse.
Cool.
I
That
mean,
says a lot.
you know, there was a, you know, the night they come home drunk, my mom and my dad come home drunk, and my dad pulled out his 20 gauge shotgun and just fucking blew my cat away right in front of us. Boom! Yeah. Shot at my mom. There was, you know, beat my mom. He was fucking, he was a womanizer. He had like girlfriends. He would take me to go play with these girlfriends' kids, and me and the girls and the guys would play together. My dad and this other hoe would be in the bedroom together. It was, you know, he was a very, as I started remembering my childhood because I had escaped it so much, I'm like, this guy was a fucking douchebag. And I idolized him from the time I was 11 years old. From the time I was 11 years old until I was 46, I idolized this guy, my dad, that he did the best he could. I forgive him because I have to forgive him to forgive myself. But the shit he did to my mom and to me and to everybody, he had everybody convinced he was such a good person, and he was just an alcoholic, cocaine addict that used everybody around him. When he died, there was cocaine in his system, and everybody, oh, somebody must have slipped him a Mickey. My mom told me stories about him. Yeah, he used to go do work for these people all the time, but he said he never got paid. That's a fucking addict, man. You don't go and work for free, man. And especially as broke as we were living in Centennial Courts when I was in the second grade. Okay.
Wow.
You know, and then we moved into a trailer that my grandparents owned in Middletown, and that's what burned down in a fire. You know, I mean, we were very fucking poor, and my dad, oh yeah, I'm going to work for free. Motherfucker, I know what a cocaine addict does now. You know, and you know, then that stuff with the cheating and the, you know, the fuck, I learned how to drive a stick shift at like 7 because I would have to drive my drunk dad around. So yeah, you know, if it would have gotten worse, yeah, I mean, it was pretty bad, but you know, I'm sure it could have gotten worse.
Yeah. I, do you I mean, you still say he did the best he could, you forgiven him? I mean, I think that's awesome to do. Do you ever have times nowadays where you think that I mean, because a lot of kids, you know, pay for the sins of the father, so to speak. Do you feel like you really become your own person, and that like all the bad negative traits of your dad you won't repeat? That's ran its
Some
course
anger. I have a lot of anger, and
still
that
to this day.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fly off the handle like I used to. Um,
Do you
you
think
know,
that
unfortunately, my
something?
daughters had to see some of that angry side, but I think as far as a parent, there's no comparison to the way my father raised me and the way that I've raised my daughter. My daughter is very independent, outspoken, and smart. She's not been hindered by any of my decisions. If anything, her being part of the recovery process that I'm in, she's seeing who I truly am now. And we've created a relationship, father daughter. I mean, I started doing Taekwondo with her she was 6. So, you know, and then in 2023, we competed in nationals together.
Oh wow.
I got gold and she got 12th. So I mean,
Killed her, huh?
well, yeah, there's,
That's good though.
we do a lot of stuff. We've probably been to 50 different shows since, concerts since, 2021.
That's awesome.
And I mean, we don't like, there's no secrets. She tells us everything she does. And she's awesome. She's like, I'm so happy that I broke the cycle
I
of
was about to ask
especially
you.
alcoholism. You
I was
know,
about to ask you that if you think you really have, and of course you know got to keep on this route. But I was going to ask you if you thought you had broken that generational cycle, because obviously your dad saw some stuff when he was being raised, if you want to call it that. I'm sure he saw a lot of stuff that he passed on to you and his wife and everything. He must not have had a good childhood either. No excuse, but it certainly happens. We all know that. Um, I think it's safe to say if your daughter gets a cat, that it won't be met with a shotgun at any time.
oh no,
So,
we've got two cats. You should see the way I act with this black cat we got.
no,
I rub its head with my beard every morning. It's got to have it. We both need it. It's my little endorphin ball, man.
I like that.
Uh, and then I mean, we've got a dog, two cats, snake. We got critters. I love critters. I've always had dogs, cats. You know the the hardest part of, I think, sobriety for me was spirituality, and a big part of it was that I couldn't forgive those who had hurt me. And I'm holding on to all that anger, and there's this. I'm I believe in there's something out there bigger than me, you know, better than me, whatever it is, greater than me, higher power. Um, but hating for so long, it was hard for me to seek it out in a traditional way, going to church, because I felt so um, I felt ashamed, honestly, you know, because I had put so much blame into to God, to why did this happen to me? Why me? And then
Sure.
recently, like, I started leaning into Taoism and Stoicism philosophies, which pretty much just leave things as they are and then do the next right thing, and it's led into where there just is this overwhelming sensation that there is this whole another level of consciousness that we can evolve to. And it's just, if we do the next right thing, and that, in my case, if I can help people, you know, not use hard drugs and abstain from destructive behaviors, then that's me giving back good energy. And one of the things I was always stuck on is the whole saying is, you got to give it away to keep it.
Yeah.
I always thought it meant you had to give it away in just recovery. That was so stupid, right? Like, so I'm searching for these ways to give it back. I want to be profound and say these things that are just so profound for people, especially when I was new in sobriety. And then I realized that I have to give it away. If somebody needs it and I have it, I have to give it away. Not, I'm not going to give all the money that I have away because somebody needs it. That's stupid. I'm working for my money. But if I have a talent, say I can change a tire and you can't, and it takes 20 minutes of my time to help you change that tire, that's not hurting anybody. Or if I can talk to you for 12 minutes because it says it takes 12 minutes to talk to somebody and then prevent them from committing suicide. So if I could take that 12 minutes and talk to you and prevent that from happening, I mean, that's awesome. So I'm always looking for like that next thing to do that is helpful, and
It's
it
all
doesn't.
it's all humility too. I mean, everything you just mentioned is you giving up your time and effort and stuff like that. And a lot of people just need to know that somebody out there gives a shit. Sometimes, I mean, you can see how the world is most of the time, or how they try to project it onto us. And if people are like that depressed or that close to suicide, they feel like they don't have anybody to turn to because, oh gosh, here comes so and so with their sob story, and like they don't want to burden people. So if somebody just comes along and does something out of the goodness of their heart with nothing to be expected, it just might get them to be like, man, that gives me a little faith in humanity, and it might just get them through that day and a little bit of hope for tomorrow. That's all that is, and that comes back to you. You're gonna have a bad moment, a bad day, and something good will happen unexpectedly, and that's how that comes back around. I truly believe in that.
Well, yeah, it does. It just. I just think we gotta AA for kind of everybody, but not AA. Just kind of people. I think we just need to be reminded to just to be compassionate, just to remember that we don't know what that other person's going through. You know how bad of a day they're really having.
True. I
Um,
mean, and it could just be the building block, the catalyst to to get them to open up a little bit. Some people just need somebody to just talk to and vent to once in a while. And like you said, it takes, I didn't know that, like an average of 12 minutes, talk to somebody to maybe distract them from ideations. I mean, man, I could run my mouth for hours. So I should try to be more of use in that sense. I mean, I could probably say a lot of stuff in 12 minutes that'll distract you from whatever you're thinking right now. So,
well,
and
yeah,
it doesn't
exactly.
cost me nothing.
I'll have you thinking about how to fix something in that 12 minutes. I'll have your mind thinking about how to take something you got apart and put it back together. Distraction. Um, that's I'm really grateful that I'm sober now. I'm grateful for like I'm creating new relationships. So instead of surrounding myself with people that make me comfortable, I'm trying to surround myself with people that make me uncomfortable, but who I want to be like. People that
Well,
have that positive mentality, like So I'm a podunk raised. I don't know if you know about podunk or not.
I do. Really
Um,
do.
um, there was a Tony Ingram. Is he related to you?
I've been asked that my entire life by a lot of people, and I don't think so.
Okay, no, I just remember him because
And I've
he
never
didn't
met
get
him, so I
along.
couldn't even tell you what he looks like. It was always an awkward moment when people would ask me. Usually at the bar, they'd ask me. I'd be
Yeah,
hesitant. Sometimes I said yeah if I thought it'd get me a beer, but I didn't know for sure. I thought somebody might swing on me. That's
swing
wrong.
on you, right?
So I never said yes. But if I could have used it to my advantage, oh yeah, I just talked to him last weekend. But anyway, give me a.
No, I was just, I was gonna say, like with the whole podunk thing and the scene and having that mentality for so long. I mean, that was a mentality I had. I mean, I did a lot of crazy shit when I was on the carnival. I know I put people through traumas. Um, and that's, you know, it's like today, I surround myself with like I'm going out to dinner with eighth degree black belts in Taekwondo, grandmasters and masters, and I'm, I hang with people that have trained under Deepak Chopra, the Hindu guy that's out in California that does all the crazy, and right now my mentor is a guy named Eric Soderholm. He played baseball for the White Sox. back in the 70s, Reggie Jackson and stuff like that. I sit and talk with this man for hours on Sundays usually. And, and that's because I chose to take a spiritual path and this, and decided I wanted to surround myself with people that were positive, that could make an impact, because I want to be a person that makes an impact. I don't want to just be that dirty old podunker that's in fucking prison and the rest of his life. I want to be somebody that says, yeah, that Bob Skelton, he was a hell of a dude. I don't want him to say, yeah, he had a good business and, he had a nice family and he was a hell of a guy. I don't want him to remember me because I had a Maserati or whatever. I want him to remember me because of how I treated them. And a lot of people got treated bad when I was in Lincoln. And, there's a lot of apologies that I've made and some that I don't feel are necessary,
You should.
And, and all I can say is if you knew me at 18, you don't know me now. You don't even in my early 20s, you don't know who I am, because since I've been in my late 20s or early 20s until, now I've evolved so much. And the last 4 years, the evolution has been exponentially more than the first 40. So.
I mean, it says, there's a comment in here that says, if you knew him then and now, it's two different people. I mean, would you look at yourself as a totally different person now? I mean, we all kind of go through different phases, but Bob, I know plenty of 40-year-olds in this town right now that are exactly how they were at 18. And I can't even be around them. I mean, it's really trippy to like hang out with somebody who's 40 some years old and they're just like they were when they were 17, 18. And I'm just kind of like, okay. Like, we're not reminiscing, we're reliving. I gotta go.
Still sitting out in the garage drinking beers.
Yeah, or playing video games and smoking the weed, or just trying to talk about weed all the time on podcasts. And it's just, I mean, I don't want to judge, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm okay. I need people like that to sometimes make myself feel a little bit better. It's not about me. I mean, but it's just I feel like if you ain't willing to evolve a little bit, and it's easier said than done. I'm not perfect. I'm still not that great of a person, but I know I'm way better than I used to be, and I want to get better. But if you ain't willing to evolve and grow up at any point, I don't know what else there is for you. I just don't know what else is out there. I mean, you are willing to, and it was necessary.
Well, you have to put in the work. It's just like anything else. You have to put in the work.
But you got to be willing to look at yourself too. A lot of shit happened to me. A lot of stuff happened to you and a lot of people. But like you said, it's what we do with it afterwards. If we just use it as an excuse, if we use it as a, hey, give me a handout because my childhood was bad, let me do this, don't hold nothing against me, then you're just giving yourself an out to never live. You're just escaping accountability. Let alone
accountability, right? You're not holding yourself accountable.
There is no recovery without accountability. I tell people this every day, and sometimes I fall short on a daily basis, but I'm just going to move forward with it. I'm going to say this stuff until it precedes me.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's I hate the slogans. AA is great for slogans, though, and I mean, it's progress, not perfection. You know what I mean? And as long as you're taking a step forward, there's going to be steps back.
Yeah.
But you got to take more steps forward than you do backwards. And sometimes you're going to take 20 steps backwards before you take a step forward, but you just got to keep taking that step forward.
You're 100% right. Then the biggest difference, I think, for me is, even on some bad days, I'm sober, I'm cool, I don't have any thoughts or desires to go back out there and drink or pick up, but I'm willing to mess up and make mistakes and be this or that so I can see it for what it is, see it for who I am or was, and admit that, make an apology, and kind of move on from it. Where every year before, if I messed up, it'd be somebody else's fault, or you made me this way, and and then I'd be out the door, like never willing to like see myself with any fault whatsoever. It was always an excuse, always a blame. And once I started being like, what's my fault in this? then it's easier to be like, all right, it's not the end of the world. My bad. I'm not perfect, but I'll own it and I'll move forward. Once I was willing to do that, it just kind of made everything else a little bit easier because I've never really done that before. I would always think of somebody to blame for something.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, that's the ego for sure, and yeah, me too, man. Always, it's not my fault. Anytime anything would go wrong, trying to figure out what I can blame it on. Never accepted any accountability, responsibility.
I never saw the point in it. I'm like, why would I want
Right.
to do that?
Oh yeah,
But I really ran out of people, to be honest with you. But
yeah,
not just that, but I mean, I just like I can't like it didn't hold any weight anymore. Like I don't know how to make somebody believe that this is somebody else's fault other than mine. Like you see me take the plate and smash it, and I'd be like, that's because of so and so back in 1985 did something.
that's
So don't blame
because
me.
my
That's
dad shot my
kind of how my
cat.
mindset was for a long time.
Well, yeah, yeah, no, yeah. I'm pissed off. You just have to deal with it.
Right.
That was my mindset. And
Same
I went
here.
to fucking Dr. Phil because of my anger and all this other stupid shit, DUIs, prison, alcohol, anger, cocaine. Yeah, just a great combination of shit. You know, um, the being an addict, it's like I want everything to be great, grandiose. I want that perfect right now fix, right? I want it all
Oh,
to be fixed now. And since I've been sober, what I've learned is, a day that's a 3 out of a 5 is a good day because it could have been a 1, right?
oh God, yeah.
And on those days I do have the 1 or the 2 because it takes a lot to be a 1 day for me, man. Like a death, somebody close, Ozzy Osbourne, stuff like that. Um, what's the lesson in the day, in the 2, in the 3? What's the lesson? What am I learning from being uncomfortable? Um, that's and just move on. Take and learn what you can from it, and move on. And I think that has a lot with just living in the now with sobriety. We can't let the past define us. Because it's people that are truly trying to recover and be better people. They're working on it, and they're not who their past is. You know, um, and if you're not working on it, you may be stuck in your past, just like these 40-year-olds that are acting like 18-year-olds. My very best friend growing up. He's not my best friend anymore, but he. I mean, I keep up with him. There's this LDN website that has like the police blotter that tells everybody that gets arrested in Lincoln.
Oh yeah, I know it.
You know, and that's how I keep up with these old acquaintances. I don't even want to call them friends anymore.
Wow.
You see them getting evicted, and then there's Judicy, and you can go on there and look people up, right? You see that they're getting evicted from houses because they're not paying their rent, and their significant others getting caught selling drugs because they use so much they can't sell it no more, and it's just and they scam you. They scam you. You try to help them out, and they take your kindness for weakness. And that's my family. That my best friend, these people I'm growing up with. This is how my family still treats me to this day, because I did move on, and I got away from that bullshit, and they treat me like I'm better than them. They have this perception. They've created this perception that I act like I'm better than them.
What? So like they're like, what? How dare you take the name Skelton and make it mean something more than
How?
it?
Yeah, exactly. My wife's a fucking phenomenal teacher. Her last name's Skelton. She's one of the most respected females in her profession in the area. And it's like, this is why I got away from Lincoln, and technically in my field, I'm one of the best technicians in this area. So, I got away from that because I was able to come out here and do something, because I wasn't restricted by stigma.
What if, here's just a question that popped into my head. What if, then don't say it's impossible because you don't know. Well, could you ever see yourself opening up a dojo here in town for kids that was your age, a little bit older, to have somewhere to go? Because
There's
is
not
that
enough people in Lincoln, man. It's too
no?
small. No,
Yeah,
because I mean, if you're going to do a dojang for real, like if you're going to teach kids to compete at the next level and not be what they call like a cookie cutter dojang, for a lack of a better term, which most dojangs are. From what I've seen online, most dojangs in that area are that way. Um, maybe Bloomington or Springfield, probably not Springfield. I don't know though. I might come through and do some programs at the school there if they're reputable.
that'd be
Like,
cool.
because
I mean,
I've been working on something actually. I'm trying to create a kind of a new kind of martial arts qigong tai chi type movement exercise.
but a lot of it for themselves mentally and for their like self esteem, it would give them an outlet, for aggression and get some discipline. They feel like they're somebody. It would feed the ego in a healthy, positive way. Not that
Well,
they
yeah,
might not ever get a black belt, but just to have somewhere to go and somebody they could possibly relate to.
there's not a
Um,
dojang in Lincoln.
no, they had Scott Brown used to have one.
Yeah,
I think he passed away a
what
few
happened
years
to that?
ago.
There was some dude named Darren down there, I believe,
It,
that tried to
it
start something.
If there is, they'd probably put it in the chat. I'm not aware. I thought there was supposed to be some kind of gym or something that opens up, but I mean, it's just the money it takes. I couldn't imagine, but just things open up that's good like that for the kids and youth, and it just doesn't go anywhere. They
There's a
just
guy
open up.
down there. I was going to say there's a guy down there named James Grimaldi. That's he's an attorney, but he's a jujitsu teacher,
I
and I
know,
know
Jim.
he has a couple places. I think he has one in Springfield and maybe one in not St. Louis. I might be wrong, but yeah, I mean he's a good guy. We're,
Yeah, I know
so
him. I think I went to school with him. I mean, I just, my thought is just like, man, if we don't have more outlets for these kids to like go somewhere and to do something, have an outlet, I mean, they're gonna fall into a lot of traps. I mean, some of these kids, might be having the same kind of upbringing and the same dad or mom that you had as a childhood, and it didn't fare too well for you for many years. And as this world gets crazier and crazier, it's just then you throw entitlement on top of everything else, and you got like a 17-year-old out there just raging out, think the world owes them, and mom and dad, they didn't even know them. I mean, I don't know how they're supposed to grow into anything, influential. And it kind of sucks. A lot of us get into recovery. We're in our 40s or 50s or whatever, and everything, and we talk about it. But I'm just like, man, what kind of impact is it having on the youth, on the younger kids? Like, I'm glad I'm sober, coming up on 2 years, but as far as my son goes, there's word that he's out there doing who knows what, and he had his life completely together 3 years ago, working at uh, the big box factory. He had like the best job in town, a new house, a kid on the way, and just I don't know. I haven't even talked to him really since I got sober. So I'm just like, how is my recovery having any immediate impact on my own son? Kind of bugs
why
me.
not?
I mention it a lot, but I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Just go grab him and talk to him? It might make stuff a whole lot worse. I think he
Worse.
got a lot of resentments to me. So I trust God with that. He knows what's on my heart, but just to have something for the kids to look forward to. I mean, that's
I
got to,
just don't think anything in Lincoln that I could do anything with my last name. I think there's still a stigma behind that because I mean I've got family down there. There's first, second, third cousins that are on Lincoln's Most Wanted. I mean they're doing life on the installment plan. There's girls that are going to prison for home invasions and burglaries and beating people up, and my uncle's running around there smoking crack every day and stealing whatever he can get his hands on. And then, there's everybody I was associated with in Podunk at that time. Like when I left Lincoln, I had a pretty bad, like, and it's not even, I don't even care about my reputation in Lincoln at this point because, it was like my 20-year anniversary, or not anniversary, but no, 30 year shit. 30-year high school reunion come up, and I was that was the year I got gold in Taekwondo, and I'm like, I don't even want to be around any of these people. None of these people liked me in high school. They didn't talk to me. I was, made fun of, hanging out with podunk people. The cool kids didn't like me. We were all smoking dope and, drinking, and I was tripping acid in high school and everything else. So I wasn't that person you wanted to be around. And I got, as the time got closer to go to the reunion, I just was like, man, I don't even have the need to or want to impress any of these people. They're not. It's just not worth my time. All that would have been is like, yeah, look at me. I don't look at me. I don't want you to look at me. You didn't look at me then. You didn't give me two seconds, and now I don't want your 2 seconds because I've created something. I'm other than what our legacy has been. Some of these people, growing up, small town, it's hard, man, because everybody knows everybody.
Lincoln itself is stigmatized. Like I mean, in one way or another, whatever side of town you live on. I mean, it's just there's so many cliques. It's kind of ridiculous. And if people weren't rooting for you back then, I don't know how we can expect anybody to root for us nowadays. I'm sure
Lincoln.
I burned a lot of bridges and everything, but I'm just like I'm not that person. Like if you have an interest in getting to know me these days, then I'm all for it. But other than that, I'm going in the direction I'm going, and that's it.
Well, it's anywhere though. I mean, I'm in Chicago, and I live in this town of it's called Hodgkins, Illinois. There's like 1,500 people in this town, and it's so gross. Everybody knows everybody. It's like living in Lincoln, or not even Lincoln. Let's say Mason City-ish.
Sure.
Yeah, So,
the real village.
Well, yeah, and then you look at like the public works department and some of the other the park district and stuff that we have that we probably shouldn't have because we're so small. But it's all these white people that it's not representative of our community. You know what I mean? It should be representative. There's no diversity in our public works department. It's so gross, and it just reminds me, I didn't have an off skin color, but I had this stigma, and it just reminds me of that. It just eats to my core that people get away with that type of shit. The villages that get away with that, we can blackball you because of your name, because of your race, because of your skin color, because of anything else, and it's so fucking gross, man. And it's made me such, these traumas have made me such an advocate for people that are bullied. Even when I was growing up, I would always fight for the kid getting bullied. If somebody come up and bullied somebody, I was, fuck you, bully. I got you. I got you.
Especially nowadays with this chop, judo chop, real quick.
Well, I wasn't even judo chop, man. I didn't know shit back then. Yeah, it's so, and that's, and it's not just my name in Lincoln. There's a lot of other names, and there, a lot of other communities, and just if, just give everybody, a chance to do their worth, to prove their worth, and if they don't, then let them grow up, and hopefully, or help guide them to grow up instead of just let them be. Don't worry about fixing nothing.
Yeah. I mean, they don't even really bother setting any kind of an example. If kids don't have any example other than what they see from all the other people they hang around with.
It's materialism as the example that's being set.
Yeah, get it no matter what. You deserve it anyway. Don't work or have any sacrifice and commitment towards it.
or
Yeah.
just and have no accountability,
None. They don't even. Most
or
probably don't even go to
respect.
school. No,
Yeah,
just
that's
take.
why I
They
said
take.
everybody needs needs AA.
Um,
Not, you know what I mean.
well, I get.
Um,
Yeah, for just the principles of it, especially the 12-step. Principles. It's just morals and values. I think it's something that's just seriously just decaying in society.
well,
Quick fixes, get this now, make this, and there's no work ethic. I mean, none of that is involved anymore. It's just like somebody took something from you back then. You're owed this. You deserve this. And if somebody doesn't want to give it to you, then they're a racist, a bully, a mean person. And it's just it's the video game era. And like
well, yeah, I've worked for
just like it's
everything I have.
GTA, and life is not GTA.
If anything, my life has taught me is that I have to work for what I want because it wasn't going to be given to me at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, and GTA was fun. Shit, I can't wait for the new one to drop. But
that's agree. Hey, let me.
well, no.
I'll just say I saw a lot of young kids growing up with GTA, man, and they just some of them just take it into real life, and it's not a good thing. But I mean, for youngsters. Um, Let me. You said you were just in town not too long ago, visiting your mom and everything. How is she? How's your relationship with her evolved over the years? Um, and just your thoughts on your you and your mom's relationship back then and now.
We had a pretty fucked up relationship when I was drinking in my teens. I mean, I don't think I lived at home for much more than like a month at a time from the time I was like 14. If I was even home, I was sleeping on couches in Podunk, people's houses, Lingo Ranch out in the country, fucking grandma's couch in Middletown, anywhere my head would lay. Sometimes just shoot Latham Park over there in that little tunnel that's over there by the sometimes I'd climb up in that pavilion and sleep. Um, yeah, whatever, man. It was summertime, the creek. Uh, but you know, she is codependent, and so she always had to have a man in her life that she felt like was taking care of her, I guess. And it was, there was some abuses with these studs, and so I really disliked my mom. And then um, she married this other stud, and he was kind of a dick. So our relationship was like we had a good relationship when I was in college, when I started going to college and shit. And then I had my daughter, and she come up here and like took care of her, helped us take care of her for the first year while me and my wife were working, so we didn't have to pay for daycare. So, that helped change our stuff. And then I forgave her. We have had a ton of conversations about everything. The past, I've had talks with her about how I made it feel, how it made me feel. And this is when we found out some stuff that, how kind of fucked up my dad was, and that kind of opened some doors up for me and really made me forgive my mom because of how fucking narcissistic and controlling my father was. And I mean, she was 17 when they got together, and he was like 26 or something stupid. And she had just come from an abusive stepfather that tried to abuse her sexually relationship. So she was just looking for someone to, and nobody believed her. Her parents, it was all fucked up. But so, and then my dad swooped in with this narcissism and was like, ooh, here's one I can, how narcissists work.
Sure.
Come in the hero of the fucking day, and so yeah, after talking to her and working through these things, I mean, I think I opened up some shit for her, and she's at the age now that I don't think she's going to work on it, because she's one of those people that can just be like, la la la, this is what happened, and believes it. How our parents are. They were raised a different way than we were.
Yeah, that's true.
We weren't. Maybe it was a blessing we weren't. You know what I mean? Because they
Yeah.
were. Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
at her age, if she seems pretty happy and content and getting along, I mean, more power to her, at this point. So,
yeah, she's like 69.
yeah.
She lives out there by the high school, that apartment building,
She pretty
high
proud of
rise
you?
out there.
You think she's pretty
Oh
proud of
yeah,
you?
oh yeah.
Mm. So I just wonder what her hopes were for you, like years and years ago. So I mean, I know it have to warm her heart because she probably didn't see you going too many good places for a long time. So it probably makes her feel like she did something right in all those years, and obviously still cares for you and loves you today.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she is who she is. We've got a good relationship.
Mm.
I've forgiven her. So
I got a few more questions for you, Bob. I appreciate you doing all this, man. And Bobby Joe on here said that you were at her house all the time back in the day, sleeping and crashing and hanging out.
yep.
um, what's the next 5 to 10 years look like for you? If you could kind of envision something and work towards it, where do you see yourself 5 or 10 years from now?
Um, Probably somewhere it doesn't get as cold. Um, Hopefully in 10 years I'm retired, living on a farm somewhere, just taking care of my critters and living as close to self sufficient as I can. Um, I plan to get Reiki certified and start doing Reiki sessions on people and myself to help with my Qigong practice so I can do more efficient energy movement and doing the energy work the way that I need to so I can feel more healthy. So I'd like to have a whole new level of like um, just understanding of how all the different energies work in the universe. And as far as sobriety, I hope I don't have any urges or cravings. I won't have any urges, I don't think, but cravings. But I don't think that's even possible. I mean, I'm hoping that you know the the stigma behind cannabis use and recovery is lifted in the next 5 to 10 years, to where people see that harm reduction is better than abstinence. If somebody can't stay abstinent and they keep running back and being self-destructive, but if they can use something in moderation and that stops the destructive patterns, that it's okay. Um, and I'm advocating for that. I'm going to try to create a group maybe that has kind of a 12-steppy program-ish thing, but there's about half of the 12 steps I don't really vibe into, because they're like, oh, you got to do a fourth and fifth step or ninth and 10th step every year. It's like, no, you don't, man. That's the past. Move on from that shit. Just go. The past happened. We don't
Yeah.
need to relive that shit every fucking year. But anyway, and a place that, say you're a fentanyl addict, right? And you're doing fentanyl all the time, but if you drink a beer and you're not doing fentanyl, man, who am I to judge? Oh, you're a fucking alcoholic because you have a beer instead of fucking nodding out. It's like harm reduction. If you need abstinence, that's what you need. But some people, that's not what they need to and that's the thing, is this is my recovery, where your recovery is your recovery, and everybody else that's in recovery, it's their recovery.
Yeah.
I'm not recovering for you or for my wife. I mean, she gets the benefit from it, right? Because I'm doing the next best thing and I'm trying to be a good human,
Yeah.
and I'm not drinking every day and fucking calling her a fucking bitch, and doing things like that, putting my daughter in danger, putting other people in danger. And, I'm, that's why I say I'm California sober. You know,
I, I think the thing about that is I could see it as harm reduction, but more so it limits consequences. Where like if somebody said, "Well, you better just not do anything at all," I do see a lot of people being like, "I gotta have something," so they go back out to what they've always done. Where the cannabis comes in as like an intermediary, because I mean, where do you think you'd be right now if the Cali sober thing didn't happen for you? Do you think you'd be almost 4 years sober, or do you think you might have went in and out or evolved to something else?
I had probably been pilly.
Yeah, well, that's what I
Yep.
was coming out.
Go to the doctor, get an opiate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, because
And
you're
then
addicted.
that would have, then an opiate would have been like, you know what, I'm not feeling so good. So let's get a Xanax.
Hmm.
Then I would, Xanax just alcohol in a pill form. And then, would have got the Xanax, and Xanax make me where I just don't give a shit. And then I would have had a drink. And then you're mixing Xanax with alcohol, and then I would have went and got him, playing the tape forward. Then I would have went and got the quarter ounce of blow, and then here we are, back to rehab, and my wife would divorce me, and my
Sure.
daughter would not have nothing to do with me, and my friends that I have created over the last year and a half of this life would not be my friends no more, and I would be destroyed.
Yeah,
You know?
maybe
Yeah,
maybe not even here. I mean,
yeah.
you knew yourself well enough to know that once you got injured, that the prescription pills, the opiates, OxyContin, whatever they would have gave you, Vicodin, you were such an addict that addiction would have transferred right over to that pill form. And a lot of people are like, "Well, this is what the doctor's giving me, so it's way safer." You could validate that, justify that real easily. And where you were like, "Man, I don't want to go that route," and then so in came the cannabis and that's really balanced you. That's where I
Well,
think
yeah.
that and being more spiritual, of course, too. But yeah, if you would have went that route of being of prescribed drugs, they would have circled you back around to where you was when you left off.
Well, with Illinois having, a medical card, I can grow my own, and there's something about growing your own medicine. The big stigma is behind smoking it. I make a lot of edibles and oils and stuff where you don't have to smoke it, so you're not smelling like a
Yeah,
skunk. And I use CBD and I use CBG and I use other cannabinoids and terpenes and some other things that this isn't a cannabis educational format. So, but I'm using non-psychoactive cannabinoids to help with pain relief that are geared for anti-inflammation and mood stabilization, and not using Xanax or opiates or um, psychotropics, because everybody, oh, I don't feel good, doc. Well, maybe you should go exercise a little bit and fucking, get some sunshine.
oh no,
Smoke a
don't do that.
joint. I'm just playing. You know what I mean? I'm just seriously. I'm like, um, there's a lot of anxiety and depression that's going on around, and people are on the phones, on these tablets a lot, and we're not exercising, we're not communicating. We're human. We need to be social. We need to interact with other people, smell each other's pheromones.
Sure.
We need to get our toes in the dirt. You know, ground. You need to ground.
Well, we're supposed to live, not just exist. Otherwise that's just like cattle just waiting to be herded into the slaughter.
Well, it's pretty much what we are. I mean,
Ugh.
um, but that's another topic.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, you know the in 10 years, I'm hoping that I'm at a place of where I am living in today all the time, where I'm not even worried about what happened yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, there's things you got to plan for, retirement, blah 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 blah. But I mean, as far as like, did cutting that person off piss them off? I don't care about the shit like that. Or am I going to have a job tomorrow? Why should I even fucking worry about if I'm going to have a job tomorrow? I got a job today. That's all that matters. You know,
Perspective.
you know, this other AA guy used to say, man, if you got 1 foot in today and 1 foot in tomorrow, you're pissing on today.
Heard it, heard it, heard it.
You know, um, I remember hearing all those slogans like these fucking slogans are stupid, and now I'm using them all the time in everyday life. It's like, even technically, like I'm pretty technical, man. I'm pretty good when it comes to mechanical shit, and since I've quit drinking and I play the tape forward, I'm looking at projects now and I see the bigger picture instead of just, oh, let's throw this gear on there. I'm looking at it. Why did this gear fail? And I'm figuring out why. And then, you know, I'm actually fixing something instead of putting a Band-Aid on it.
Well, that's decent.
Because I'm thinking about it instead of just reacting. I'm trying to force myself into every situation, no matter how fucked up it might be, to think about it before I react on it.
Well, that's
Because that
rewiring.
ego, that ego wants to react and fix. And, you know, especially that male ego, that testosterone fueled ego is like, if there's a problem, I got to fix it now.
Right.
It's like,
By
nah,
any
yeah.
means. And it
So-
a lot of times it's just making it worse. It could be a temporary, oh, it looks good, little duct tape on there, but then, you know, 80 miles down the highway. So a lot of that quick reaction, quick fix type of deal just ends the like worse.
Makes it worse.
It does. But you feel like, oh, see, told you, call the right person. Saves you a lot of money too. Just hot wired and splice this together and put some tape on it and spit and dirt, and we're out the door. It's rewires your brain's is healing. You know, it's still, I mean, almost 4 years in, but the brain's still healing, rewiring. You're getting different mindsets, more healthier, you know, thought processes and stuff like that. Patience. I mean, how much has your patience gotten? I mean, I don't know if you were an impatient person, but I would think a lot of that, you know, you could kind of just take the moment for what it is, good or bad, instead of, you know, reacting so quickly, or, you know, still say you got some anger issues, but I think my impatience leads me to get temperamental.
Yeah, I'm impatient as fuck. It's the addict. I mean, I'm an addict. I want it now. I want the quick fix.
Yeah, instant gratification.
You know, just I want that quick fix. I want it now. It's crazy. So crazy.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you know, who I was and who I am are definitely two different people. And, you know, like I said, if it wasn't for the past, I wouldn't be who I am, and I wouldn't have learned the lessons that
True.
I've been taught. And, you know, I'm grateful for most of it. You know, it's you know, the spiritual side. I think that's what's going to make it all like come together for me. Finally, you know, I think I've finally found something that I'm vibing with, man. Yeah, it's good stuff. And, you know, the old me is like, man, why'd you wait until now? It's like, why did you wait until you were 46 to quit drinking? Why didn't you quit drinking then? And it's like, you hadn't learned what you needed to be taught, you know? And
100%.
You know, I'm still learning, and I'm not perfect, man. If I still make mistakes in a lot of them. A lot of people are like, man, you know how to do a lot of shit. Yeah, you know how many mistakes I've made?
Well, you learn from them, but you're willing to learn from them, and that's how you grow, you know? That's a different person. Where if you made mistakes years ago on something, even try to fix something or whatever, I mean, you probably just walk away from it. That's the only way to grow. Like, you weren't a black belt on your first day, was you? You had to learn and get the.
Couldn't even do this. Yeah, I could like kick to my waist, man. I weighed 280 when I started Taekwondo.
Oh yeah, you couldn't get that leg up there.
You know, no, I was fat. You know, now I can throw a roundhouse over my head.
Needed 2 black belts just for.
Yeah, right. Oh, you should see I have my first dobok that, you know, our Taekwondo uniform, and it's like, seriously, the top's like a tent. It's like a canvas tent. It's so big. It's like I think it's like a 9 in the sizing, and now I'm a 6, and I mean 6 to 9 is like 3 times bigger. It's not like, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right. You know, it's like, yeah, it's huge, and I put it on, and it comes down to my knees, and it's just like. You know, I was wearing triple X shirts. I'm down to a large shirt. I mean, stopping drinking, I shed a ton of weight. But at the same time I stopped drinking, I started going to Taekwondo 4 days a week. And then, when I started competing in Taekwondo, I was going for 4 days a week for 4 hours a day, and shit happened in my heart. I don't know if that's why my heart, because of all the cocaine I did, and then I stopped doing cocaine and I started working out, and then my heart's like, hey, fuck you, I don't want to work right. So I had to go get some heart procedures done. So it slowed me down a bunch. So I had a couple heart procedures, and I blew out my meniscus in my right leg, and I had some trigger finger where my middle finger got stuck in the down position, probably because I put it up so much.
Could be. Makes sense.
Yeah. And so, all these little things have slowed me down since 23. But
And you're 50 too. Like it's after 42, 45. Man, dude. I see my back out last week just after I mowed the grass and everything. Just standing here after I got out of the shower. I can't even think of a move I made. I don't even know what it was. I was just standing and my back's like, nope, going on protest. And then I was down for a night. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like I don't even.
Sometimes
Stuff just stops working. I'm like, nobody told me this. Well,
wait till you're 50.
No, they can slow down. Bob, what an incredible story, man. I mean, I could sit and talk to you all night. Yeah, I definitely want to keep in touch with you. Now I'm going to get off here in a little bit and do these recovery meetings that me and Deb run, and what you're invited to some night. I know it's online and everything, but it's a great group of people that come in there, man, and they just speak their truth, what's on their hearts. And let me ask you this: I know there's a lot more we could cover, but what's some advice you want to leave everybody with? And then I don't know if you're into praying or not, but I always ask the guests to pray out. If you don't want to do that, I could do it, but just leave everybody with some advice, and I appreciate it.
I would say the best advice I have is don't give up. Don't stop. Just if you relapse, start right the fuck back over.
Yeah.
Don't feel guilty for it. Don't feel ashamed for it, because there's not one person that's truly in recovery that's going to make you feel guilty or shame. If they do, then they're fake.
Good point.
Because relapse is part of recovery. Unfortunately, I didn't get into it with my story, but I started going to rehabs when I was 13. I've been to at least 15 rehabs in my time, and it finally happened. You know what I mean? So
that was a question I meant to ask you, was how many times you were in rehab. So I'm glad you brought that.
And I successfully completed several and relapsed the very day I walked out. So if you don't want it, it's not going to happen. That's another good one. You got to want it, because for years I thought just stopping was what it took, and it takes a whole lot more than that. You got to put in the work, man. You got to find out why you're drinking, what you're running from, and then face it and just do it.
Yeah.
It's going to make it easier. It's easier than the abuse you're going to get from the alcohol or the drugs, because it's going to kill you.
I mean, it didn't kill you back.
Damn near killed me. I OD'd once, and yeah, it'll kill you.
Right. But it didn't. So if you don't talk about it moving forward, I mean, if it didn't kill you and you don't talk about it, it's kind of keeping you just kind of stuck there a little bit. So
well, I OD'd once and went to the hospital. Let me put that way.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so
I was thinking I was going to ask you that too, but you were on a roll. I was like, man, that's 10,000. You said $10,000, and how long a month?
Month, yeah.
I was like, what was the OD there? Okay, he must have been really healthy. So what happened at the hospital? What'd they tell you?
I don't remember. I needed rehab. That was like that. What's really fucked up is, so my dad died on October 2nd, 1986. I OD'd on October 2nd, 2021.
Wow.
And then I got sober the 11th. That day I OD'd, I come home, I detoxed for 3 days, and after I detoxed, I fucking went out and bought another quarter ounce. Come to my wife and said, "You got to help me, take me to rehab." And I checked in. It was done. No, I was done. I was done. There was absolutely nothing I could do to stop myself from using, and I was going to lose everything, man. And I'm still working on keeping it. There's still some shit that might go away, but you know what? The best thing's here, and that's me, and I'm sober.
Yeah, what an awesome story.
And it's not perfect. That's what I'm saying. It's not perfect, man.
It's not
ever going to be perfect.
And it don't have to be. I wouldn't want it to be. I mean, if it was, then like, how would you ever feel like there's any success or things to look forward to, or everything would just be just great all the time? And like, it's the ebbs and flows, man. That's just life. I wouldn't want things to be perfect.
I'd be drinking again.
Well, I feel like there'd be nothing to pass on. It's just like, I had a perfect life. Oh, great. Okay, that's the legacy. Just nothing ever. You never learned from anything. You didn't have any tough times. You had to like get some integrity and pull through. Nope, everything was fine. Sounds a perfect life for me would be boring. I mean, I don't wish bad times, but that's what makes people, man. It strengthens you. It makes you see who you are, see what you really want, what you're worth, what you want to go through, and it leaves really good stories. A perfect life. Right? There's no good stories there. But Bob, I can't thank you enough for doing this, man, and I tremendously appreciate it. You got a lot of you got a lot of good support, man. People were saying a lot of good things in the comments. Great testimony. People that you know from back in Lincoln, all nothing but positive things. So just want to thank you for doing this, man. I want to stay in touch. I want to hear more from you. I'm sure there's a lot I can learn from you on my journey. Your 4 years is coming up, God willing. I'll pray for that to happen. I believe it will. Mine's a month after that in November for my 2 years. So I'm going to keep staying on this course that I'm on. Bad days, good days. It's all better than it used to be.
Yep.
So if you're a praying person and want to pray us out, that's my offer. If not, I could do it for you.
I can do something here.
Any way you want.
Yeah, just I'd like to pray for love. Everybody just to kind of love each other unconditionally. I'd like to pray for peace in our hearts, peace in our minds, peace in our world and our country, just peace everywhere. I pray for people that are still out there bad, that need to come in and get some help. I hope that they do. And with that, Aho. Amen.
Amen. Man. Thanks a lot, Bob. I really appreciate this, man. And just thanks everybody for tuning in and listening and leaving some great comments. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story with us, man. I know there's a whole lot more. Maybe we could do it again sometime.
We'll keep in touch.
Yeah, and give my best to the wife and your daughter, and I just wish you nothing but blessings ahead, man. Keep in touch with us. Bob Skelton, everybody, on the spot. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, I'll have a good night.